Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that means it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on this. This is a very special episode. Look, Tom's here, okay? He's here. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that Tom is here. I don't care. You don't care. It's irrelevant. Who's here?
I care.
Oh, Rob cares. Yes.
Thanks, Rob.
Joining us this week, it's Rob, and everybody who is watching this, I am quite sure knows Rob of Warhammer TV fame, the pigment dispersal engineer, seller of Chaos Black, so many great things. Rob, we're very happy to have you on the show, sir. How you doing today?
Hello. Hi. 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 I'm excited to be here. This is fun.
Already, yes, there you go. See, look, that's the level of humor and fun we deliver. One sentence in, Rob's having a good time. There you go. That's what we look at.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Let's do this.
Right on. All right, so Tom, this was a big news week. We have been spoiled.
That's an understatement, like on every level.
Hold on, pause. Let's talk about what's going on here on Rob's screen. We need to meet the dog. Who is this?
This is Tibbs. Say hi, Tibbs.
Dogs are always good for like a thumbs up. That's good ratings material right there. So
yeah, I'm a big Tibbs fan. When I come home from work, he wants fuss for as long as he can get fuss. That's what's going on there.
There you go. That's important news. All right,
but we had some great news this week, didn't we?
Oh,
yes.
Information.
So let's start with the big stuff, and then we'll go small. So the big news is that Vanguard of the Storm is coming.
Is that the big news?
I don't know. I mean, there's just so much. There's so much. Okay, then I'll start closer to home. Tzeentch is continuing to come this weekend. We have demons dropping. Our horrors box, the Lord of Change, the new Changeling. It looks like we have a Flamers and Pink Horde, or we've had Pink Horde, but Flamers and Screamers plastic box coming. As well as looks like some other reboxing.
Maybe reboxing.
Yeah, we have a start collecting Demons of Tzeentch.
So like that, I know just as little maybe as you. I'm like, I can't.
I'm looking at the stock list that leaked, so I'm just literally reading down the stock list.
Okay.
Rumor has it that there's start collecting coming, and they're saying that it's 10 Pink Horrors, 3 Flamers, 3 Screamers, and a Chariot. I think we'll see this weekend.
FYI, I genuinely don't know if that's true. Like, not even in an evasive, I can't talk about it. I just don't even know. Maybe. So, like, sounds nice. Let's do that.
Yeah. I read that.
Want that?
I read that, and I'm like, wow, that sounds like a Silver Tower starter box. Right there, because that's like all of your advanced monsters in a box. It's fantastic.
20 Zangors in a box.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
That's bonkers. Yeah, I thought that the other day. I was like, because those kits, because I remember building them from Silver Tower. This is pre-working for Games Workshop.
Yep.
Pre-working for Games Workshop. I was like, I genuinely, I think that might be some of the greatest models we've made. Truth be told, for function and the bits box you must get from them must be mental. I haven't bought a box, but I'm sure.
Vince, have you picked up your Zangors yet?
Vince may not have been able to wait for that box because it didn't come out fast enough, and may have bought a bunch of extra Zangor from the Silver Tower like months ago. Because when you release some of the but look, yes, they are the best models. They have won 2 different medals at 2 different painting competitions for me. So yes, they're great models. And I had to go out and purchase extras of them. So when you don't tempt me and taunt me with these awesome models in a box game, I'm just gonna buy more of them before you release the box. Look, I'm trying to give you my money. Give me the box.
It's like GC the Colts in Deathwatch. I was like, these are great. Like, let's release this as a range. Then I started working at Games Workshop, and I was like, oh, we're gonna release it as a range. Okay, God.
Well, the important part, not to look, we're going to cover this on the news. We're going to swing around to it. But since you touch us, I just want to say real quick, I'm happy to see that this week, or coming soon, not this week, sorry, that coming soon in February will be the fulfillment of the other box set that I've wanted forever, which is the dogs. The dogs are finally here. Yes. Now I know you're going to cover that later, but I think we can all celebrate.
Archibald's Heroes. Do you know they're actually boxed as Archibald's Heroes? That's a lie. That's not true.
That would be amazing. The first of the new regiments of renown.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see today on live the Griffhound who reached?
I did. I was very surprised because you started a fantastic confirmation rumor that the new Griff Chargers that are coming in the Stormcast must just simply be evolved Griffhounds.
Yeah.
They are Griffhounds Ascended. You heard it on Warhammer TV today first.
What? Yeah. They're just the old car phones. That's all. So, got you there, didn't we?
Fantastic. So what we're alluding to, obviously, is this week it dropped the Vanguard of the Storm, the Warhammer Community site, announced that coming in February is a new Warhammer battle tome, and accompanied with this is a new range, the Vanguard of Stormcast Eternals. So I'm guessing this is a new chamber, and in there it'll have a variety of like allegiance abilities and battle plans and artifacts and battalions and prayers and more besides.
Well, did you see the information that went out today on the Twitch channel about the
tokens?
Did you see the tokens being used?
Yeah. So with this, what Rob is alluding to is that a set of tokens are going to drop for marking terrain. And so kind of like Ben's terrain dice, but token format.
Yep.
So that's super exciting. As Vince alluded to, the Griffhound box is finally dropping. We got a picture of 6 wonderful Griffhounds. Vince, do you have that photo or not?
Yeah, I do. I'll bring it up here. But the Griffhounds also, let's not forget the other new Stormcast that we saw, right? Which have, most importantly, can we talk about the most important element of those new Stormcast? Do you know what I'm thinking of, Tom?
The fact that they don't have helms?
One of them doesn't have a helmet. That is correct. Yes.
That's the second model without a helmet, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The Knight Errant.
The problem is the other guy was a Warhammer World exclusive, right? And so there we go.
Less of a problem for some of us.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. For some of us, it's a bit of a journey. But when this posted, I surfed a lot of I just surfed around and looked at people's comments and responses to this. And the number of people who were still up until this moment were in the comments where I saw, I thought they were just spirits or ghosts inside. I didn't know there was people in there. Yeah. Right. Such a common response. Just having that one guy without the helm is so important because it says, these are people. These are peoples.
People.
Yes. And then
it was interesting actually. Me and Eddie were talking about this earlier on the stream. And actually, when I spoke to Phil Kelly not long ago, it's interesting how much ambiguity they intentionally leave, so you can fill gaps in yourself, because it allows you to build armies more to your own confirmation. And sometimes confirmation bias. Some people will go, "See, I read this thing and it's exactly like my thing, so that's right." To disregard all other facts, which is cool. It's your hobby, don't you want? Right? If you're they've all got their hats off or whatever you want, and I can call them a hat just because Goodwin told me I can, then that's great.
If you want to paint them like constructs fresh out of Tron, feel free to do that.
Yeah.
I am waiting on the Tron cast. Yes, I agree.
So here are the new Griffhounds in these wonderful action poses. I'm so excited.
They're great, aren't they? Box of Archibalds.
These are amazing, and I want to say something real quick. So I saw on Twitter that they had shared that these are sculpted by Christian Hardy.
Yeah.
And it's his first release for Games Workshop. So this is his first models he's done for GW. Wow. Way to hit a home run on your first time at bat. Let me just say that. These are so fantastic. I'm it's not just me blowing smoke in any way because you're here, Rob. I freaking love these dogs. I've talked about these dogs since the beginning. These are great dogs.
Could I have spoken more, waxed more lyrical? I don't get paid. Interestingly, the enthusiasm you see displayed on Warhammer Live is just genuine enthusiasm. I genuinely love Warhammer. So, like, it's not like everyone's like, "Oh, Rob's talking, so it's nice to get paid to talk." I got hired because I like talking about it and I'm excited. So it's kind of the other way around. It's difficult to stop me. In fact, in the taxi ride home, Dan just said, "You need to talk less on the stream. You're annoying." So that's
It's fantastic.
That's well made. Yeah.
So look at that captain, the captain of the Griffhounds.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a helmet on. That's how you know he's special. Yes.
Yeah, he's clearly the captain. Oh, so good, so good. So I'm looking forward to these bad boys. I think they will be a fine addition to my Durden gun line.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? The mounted rumor engine for the crossbow, folded crossbow in the holder with the seeming Griffhound. Now we know probably a Griff Charger hip. That rumor engine was probably coming from this forthcoming release.
And by probably, you mean it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Griff Chargers and then also the Aether Wings are new creatures coming. So lots of exciting Stormcast.
Well, here's what I'll say. Can I just take a moment to touch on the fact that I have never been simultaneously more right and more wrong all at once?
Go on.
All right. So yeah, I positive, like at the same time I've managed to get a 0 by getting a +10 and -10. So when the Tzeentch stuff all came out and we were talking about the rumor, I said, look, if you've got Tzeentch infiltrating cities, humans only respond to the infiltration and cultists in one way. They bring out like the witch hunters. They can't use the regular Stormcast because the regular Stormcast are a big giant hammer. They only know how to roll out and smash enemies that are charging their lines. You need a more finesse force. And this led me to hope that we would see a more devoted of Sigmar focused, really.
Yeah, and we were planning like we were locked and loaded to do the old Sisters of Sigmar, devoted of Sigmar. Like we were ready to make it happen, full conversions, and then this dropped, and I'm like, I'm awesome. I'm glad that it dropped, but I agree with you, Vince. Like I'm sad. Like I wanted to see that devoted drop.
So, but look, I was right. I was wrong. All at the same time. I had the right reasons, just the wrong outcome.
Yep. So
but that's okay.
That's coming next month, and the good news is that Stormcast have a very strong representation in the competitive play market, and this will give them some additional tools to continue to dominate in that field.
Yeah, I mean the important thing here is
that's it. Do they dominate?
I mean, 6 of our 10 lists in the grand tournament were order, right?
Yeah, but they weren't all Stormcast.
Well, sure.
Huh?
You're right. 6 of the 10 weren't Stormcast. We probably had, what, 1 or 2 Sylvaneth lists?
I suppose we're in this. Anyway, I think from an overview perspective, and I mean this inherently, I like talking about game design in terms of efficiency, and then you've got efficiency here, and that's a conversation where you can talk about that intelligently. So, sorry about that, that's my dog. You can talk about that in reference to other things in its application. Then over here, you've just got plain, flat, broke, doesn't work. And I don't think we have anything in the game that lives here. So that's how other game systems work and operate. And we've got everything, if something is flat, broke, they'll patch it, fix it, or turn it off for a bit until they resolve that issue.
So let me push you on that, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
What about, so for example, I don't necessarily agree with this, but what about Sail? Like a lot of people would say that Sail, it really is a must in any competitive chaos list, or almost a must.
Well, yeah. So Sail, I would say that movement is probably the most arguably useful mechanic in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And a lot of the top lists that you saw were either manipulating, had heavy usage of, or could use movement in a really strong way, or effectively skip that stage. Which is why it was so interesting having the Daughters of Cain army versus the Iron Jaws army today, because they had to use the movement just as it's flat written in the book, pretty much. Although D6 plus 2 plus D6, actually, the Iron Jaws still had it. But where were we at? I went off on a tangent.
Broken
Sail,
broken.
yeah. force multiplier. Sales is a force multiplier who's too cheap.
Yeah.
Like efficiency wise, in my opinion.
And that would be my question. Like, some things just seem to be mispriced, and this just happens in any system.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like what game in the world is like isn't it true in chess that white always has the advantage?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I think it's black. Yeah. Right.
Well, now we're all going to get a collectively display that we don't know enough about chess because we are not noble gentlemen.
We clearly know how to push soldiers around a table. It's just, unfortunately, we don't know how to do chess.
Yeah, I can't handle them when they're that abstract. Sorry, I need knights on horses. I can't just have a little horse representation. That's crazy.
So yeah. But yeah, sales a great force multiplier for the Chaos Force, and definitely it is cheap and efficient points wise in his application. But, and I mean this in all sincerity, I genuinely think that a lot of the, like, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? You see an army win, or you see a player win, and you go, is it the army actually, or is it the player? And that's a great conversation that you need to have, because the skill levels of the different people playing it. Did you see the Heat one at the weekend? Did you see the Ilario, the man with the Sylvaneth army, just have all of his models taken off in the first turn, pretty much? Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
And then I went, I was told, come on, go show people how that doesn't happen. And I'm like, okay, this is how you deploy, or this is how you put up a screen. It was still a difficult matchup for the Sylvaneth player, in my opinion. But you could, with some pretty basic understanding of the game, be able to stop that. I think what we're seeing at the minute is a bunch of, as I call them, very obvious choices. Sales are a very obvious choice. You're like, I've got this thing, and I want to make it do that. I'll make it fly. That will really help me, which is fair. Like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd like to charge the enemy straight away. I'll take a Stonehorn. Fine. But I think when some points start to get adjusted and moved around, and people look at those things, you'll see that less. But while that's happening, there's people who are not using those things, the obvious choices, and are developing really good micromanagement of their units, like we saw when Nathan played with his Dispossessed Force on the stream.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start to see that kind of playmanship work really, really well, in my personal opinion.
No, I agree with that.
Look, I mean, there's an absolute precedent for this, okay? Because, like, again, when we were talking about this kind of competitive stuff, I'm going to refer back to Magic, because Magic's had this kind of, like, really hard-edged competitive scene for 20 years. And the fact is, net decks have been a thing since there was a net for them to put a deck on, right? And the reality is, if you just gave somebody any of the best, say, PTQ winners, top 8s or whatever over the past 10 years, if you just handed that to an average player, they are not going to go win a PTQ with it. There are a lot of elements of play that are happening in the game, elements of placement and tactics and knowing how to use the scenery and all this kind of stuff. And that's all amorphous. It's not just in the choice and the efficiency of the model, right? There's a lot more to it. Yeah,
but with like with pile-ins and charges and positioning and pulling models and all those things are significant aspects of play.
There's also play style as well. And that's intrinsic, really. Like, there's playstyle versus the army you build and paint. There's also the production matter as well. It's like, okay, I think this army would work well. And then you build it, you paint it, you play with it, and you go, this isn't how I play. And then you go, oops, I need to go get a different army. So finding that, like, how you play is really interesting as well. I know for a fact I can be quite a reservist player in a lot of ways. And then sometimes I want the capacity to be able to just put everything forward, and then just hold my hand out and say 4+, I'm going to win this game. And that's a really strong. It takes like a certain level of like stupidity to do that, definitely. But similarly, there are people who are quite defensive. They struggle against that, and then I usually, when someone sets a trap for me, I'm very likely to fall into it. So it really depends on your playstyle as well. There's so many interesting elements to add to how we view that game. And for the first time ever, all of us as a community are getting to actually watch those games played, not in post-review from a podcast, but upon the tabletop and constantly. I think that's really interesting.
So you alluded to this. You're allowed to not answer this question, but you had said something that seemed to imply this in your statement. If you want to,
quick aside, he's allowed to not answer anything he wants, not just this question.
Yeah. anything. But if you just want to say moving on, please do that. But is it safe to assume that we will see a repointing of some units with the GHB2?
It's already been announced.
Oh, has it? Okay.
It's not. That was actually announced at the very first Warlords event. The thing is, sometimes we don't do like we. I suppose really it's really tough to make sort of those statements and make sure everyone understands and hears that clearly. But we had today the chat playing in the evening, Mr. Pete Foley, who's a wonderful man, who's in charge of our books and box games. He sat down on the stream and was like, just so you know, General's Handbooks 2 is going to come out at some point, and we're going to be looking at everything and readjusting stuff.
Oh, awesome! I didn't catch that part.
I'm not finished. And then that's what people sometimes cut off. And then he said, and then we intend to continuously do that. So it's not just the next version of points and everything else that occurs. And I honestly am not privy to any of it, so I can't help you out there. Yeah. But following on from that, then already information from that will be gathered in an attempt to adjust in the future, and that's great for everyone.
Agree.
Works in every other game system. Makes sense. It should work in ours.
Yeah,
no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I mean, it has to be an organic. By the way, this question got asked. There you go. Somebody in the chat was asking. Yes, I do have this model, and yes, it is painted. There you go.
Is there a chat? How do we get to the chat?
If you're watching the video at the same time, you can see it over on the right side. I have it on my other screen, but be careful.
Hello.
You just turn it on; it'll start talking, and then we'll all hear it.
Make sure to mute.
You have to have that particular window muted.
How do I mute it? Oh no! I've caused controversy.
Down in the bottom where the little speaker is, you just click it, and it'll say, and you'll get a little mute.
Oh, no, I don't see a speaker. Oh, trouble to all. No one say anything. Anyway, sorry. Carry on. Moving on.
Okay.
Yeah. What else we got?
Okay. Back to the news. We do need to get through this. Obviously, a new Silver Tower box, or a new Warhammer Quest box was released. Shadows over.
Warhammer Quest is it's new.
Over Hammer Hall. Unfortunately, for those of you that saw the image, whether this is determinative or not, it seemed like most of everything that was on the image was things we recognized. Most of the heroes, whether it was the Lord Castellan or the Black Arc Fleet Master. Let me just say, if you're trying to lure me into a set of heroes, the Black Arc Fleet Master, probably not the best way to do that.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. That was a great grab. I saw that guy. I was like, yes, the pirate's back, man. He's hitting the under Hammer Hall. Let's get that guy in action. That dude's a 40-point hero.
No, it's true.
What a steal.
Yeah, for who? And so anyway, so the pirate, and a lot of people were all hyped up about the Duerden, but the reality is that that's just the Cogsmith. Like, that's not new. Everybody was like, oh, the new dwarves. No, not really. That's just the Cogsmith, who's awesome. I love that mini. But I will say one of the things that did jump out to me that not a lot of people pointed out is that we have all three types of chaos in the image fighting the heroes. It seems like. Say what?
There's 5 types of chaos.
Well, we saw. Let me say this: the 3 major chaos gods we saw present in the image that have been active. Slaanesh is MIA right now, and her followers were not in the image, or not apparently. And likewise, the Skaven were too sneaky for the image, so they were not.
There were actually like 30 Skaven ninjas in that picture.
Sure.
Just as per usual, you can't.
In armpits, in pockets. They couldn't have been anywhere.
Just assume there are Skaven ninjas in every Warhammer image you're looking at.
Yeah.
Every Stormcast cover, no matter what it is, whatever book it is, whatever art piece, there are Skaven somewhere in it. Yes,
certainly. Where are we going with? Okay, yeah. So new Silver Tower, a new Warhammer Quest box. It's awesome. It was announced. Not much more than that. Check it out on the community page. They have a better description.
Other buy it?
No. Rob, do you want to talk about it?
No, I can tell you one thing. It's new.
What? It is new.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like
you heard it here. Warhammer Weekly exclusive. That new thing is new. This is the quality level that we knew we could only get with you, Rob.
Really pushed me. Really pushed me. Ask me when it's coming out.
All right, Rob. When is it coming out?
Soon.
There you go. That's what I thought. Rob, wait, hold on. I have a follow-up question, sir. Follow-up question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be good?
So I haven't played it, but I assume so.
I was hoping for at least. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. Like I wasn't even giving you that tough of. That was a softball.
I mean, yeah, that was easy. That was easy.
Oh,
right.
that's fantastic.
What else
Some 40K news. We don't normally cover 40K, but the fracturing of BL-Tan is dropping. 2 of the 3 minis of the new ones that were announced look like they would be fantastic conversions. The new Yeniad.
The avatar of, I don't know, Yeniad.
Yep.
Let's call it that.
There you go.
I don't know how to say Eldar words.
Yes.
I don't know how to say. I screw up every elf word ever. I'm not going to change that just because they went into space.
Yeah, welcome to my life. You never knew how many things you said wrong until you do a show every day, like, or 3 days a week. I was like, you can't say that wrong, you idiot. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And so many words.
I empathize with you. Believe me, I'm right there with you, brother. As the regular viewers of the show will know, I have never pronounced a single narrative or fluffy word to describe any character or their names correctly. But what I'll say is that avatar of, let's call it Yeniad, the spinny one with her swirly stuff around her. I am just waiting for somebody to make their Elvish Celestin Prime conversion out of that, like to do the Celestin Prime for like the elf army.
I don't know.
That's doing itself right there.
I think it would be a fantastic Slaanesh demon prince or demon princess. Like throw some nice big old bat wings on her.
I think Celestin Prime's one of the most like customizable and cool units. Like in reality, mine's a Tree Lord Ancient and a Celestin Prime and a Hurricanum.
Nice.
All right, really getting it all in there on one page.
Multi-purpose.
I mean,
said multi-purpose. We're touching 3 different armies. We got to cover 3 different factions. We got it covered.
So my most precious time is my paint time. So actually, if I can paint 3 models in one go, I'm speeding up, and I'm proud of myself. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I do have to buy all 3 kits, but I bought all 3 kits, but still I'm painting 3 models. That makes sense, right?
Just put them all single base. You're done.
Yeah.
I do want to point out. So when that dress image had dropped, viewers of the show will remember in the comments and in the week that followed, I called out that we were because of the color and all that we were actually going to get death elves. The irony here is that I was right, only it was death space elves that we got instead. So I was close, so close.
So close.
So here's for hoping that we'll still get that sub-faction of elves that ended up like in death by trying to rip the souls of the deceased out of Slaanesh's body with magic.
And that death elf chick with the spiky head, is your death elf chick? I don't know, man. How would you describe her? So she's
you do our product briefings.
Absolutely. Look, let me do the back of the box descriptions. I've got it. This elegant elf chick with a spiky head will be a great compliment to your Eldar forces, to your space elf forces.
Yeah, perfect.
Print done. All right. So at any rate, I already saw some people. She's really big. Like she's quite a sizable model if you see the base she's on. And I already saw people talking about using her as like a vampire, like a female vampire conversion. Just like maybe change the head around a little bit. That's again another perfect conversion. She would look great as like a female vampire lord or something like that. Could
you imagine her even with like a Nephrata's head? Because if she's on a larger base.
Oh, totally.
With all that ornate stuff, like it'd be sharp.
Well, and it'd have the right like aesthetics too, because Nephrata is wearing that big ridiculous headdress. It would actually
come down and it hourglass. Yeah, it'd look really good.
You look really cool with the the Covenanter and the vampiresses who are on there. She'd be really cool, kind of like attached to that, or them attached to her, whatever you want to do.
Vince, think about your Royal War Sphinx that you did with Kalita. Yeah, Rob, I know you don't know what I'm talking about.
Never heard of them.
Yeah.
What?
You could do a Coven Throne or whatever, or even like a Royal War Sphinx, whatever, with her on the back using the throne, like the bone steps,
Mhm.
That'd be
with
cool.
that flat platform. Something like that
Absolutely.
would be really sharp. Yeah, so we got a new rumor engine photo. Some people said it was possibly Steamhead Jordan. It probably looks more like a Terminator part. We'll see. Only time will tell on that one.
Yeah, I think people were saying money's on a Terminator librarian or something like that.
And then finally, the Heavy Metal team is hiring for those of you that are interested. So we'll have the link below.
Yeah. However, me and Dan have seen that we're also applying. You're also hiring for a grill chef. So we're thinking of taking a sideways step in our careers. Because, and let's be honest, who doesn't want to work on the grill? I was thinking we could play some Motown. Wait, hold on, Dan's behind me, just like always. What's that, Dan? He said the joke's on me. He always wanted to be a chef, so he didn't want to be part of a live stream team.
See, I thought he was going to say that. Are you sure that's not an upward step in your career? Like that would be.
It really might be.
But yes, I'll have.
Can I talk about that?
Go for it.
Sorry, go on, carry on, Demand.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say it's quite embarrassing. Our actual job is actually quite embarrassing. And what I mean by that is we have fantastically talented human beings come on the show all of the time. Yeah, and like I managed to speak to Mr. Jez Goodwin a few weeks ago. And that was stunning. And I'm like, yeah, you have a body of work stretching back over 30 years, probably one of the most consummate professionals in your field in the whole world. Yeah, I just talked to the telly. So yeah, it's not really quite the equivalence in skill and all kind. And then Mr. Pete Foley, a former heavy metal painter, now in charge. Like the people we have on the show, Warhammer Live, this is what we're talking about. Really brilliant and pretty scary how talented most of them are. To be honest, it's quite daunting. And I just talk.
I will be completely honest. When I was walking through, when I was there and I walked through Bugman's, I saw Jess sitting there at like a table talking with some other people. And he was one of the only people that I walked by that I was far too intimidated to go and say hi to. Like I didn't want to interrupt him. And also I was just too intimidated because the man's body of work is so unbelievably impressive that I was going to be like, I was just going to walk up to him and be like, hi, how are you? You're like one of the greatest artists who's ever lived. Nice to meet you. Like I don't know what to say.
So scary it is asking him questions.
Yeah, I have no equivalent talent to share with you. That's exactly right. Like I can't be like, hey, I paint miniatures. You make them. You're the one who starts them, and I finish them.
Yeah,
that's not going to be a good conversation. That's just going to end.
So grill chef might be a step up for us.
There you go. Absolutely, absolutely. For me, at least, I'll speak for me personally. No doubt, no doubt.
I think that's the news.
All right, there you go. Obviously, a lot of big stuff coming. I'm very excited. So, here's one final piece. I think it's most important, and you mentioned it before the show. I didn't get to catch the stream today, but I know Tom did. I know we can't. How could we miss the most important news that the Twitch stream today now has arrows? So
it's true.
Yes.
We actually also have circles and squares.
Exactly. So the addition of shapes to the board, we are leaps and bounds in technology. No, joking aside, like it is a different world. And I mean that this is such a simple microcosm, and it points to what we're going to talk about today with the broader community. You guys started doing this, which alone itself was amazing, right? And you got feedback, and somebody said, hey, it'd be neat if you could do like some arrows and some shapes on the board to kind of draw and, or, to kind of give the idea of where people are going, what people are doing. So we understand what you're talking about when you reference it. Within a few weeks, it happened. I know it's not the biggest thing in the world. I'm not saying it's like, oh my God, we moved mountains.
But yes, it's the biggest, like months of hard work to achieve that. Please don't undersell the sheer amount of graft and hard work that's made that happen. Similarly, and follow that up, actually there's a lot more things people have asked. One of the really, really great things, and I can't remember who it came from, was that we should have really plain coloured objective markers on the tabletop so that you could see, and we put those in for the event, the heat of the weekend, and they work really, really well. And again, that was some comment or statement, or someone spoke to me, or someone told me to do that basically. And and that. So look, everyone that's given us suggestions is really, really important and helpful. So, yeah. But yeah, shapes, wicked, and also maybe a tad dangerous.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the full-on commentary with like circling units and arrows, and like it has to happen.
The accidental combination of 2 circles, a rectangle, and a triangle that we all know is going to inevitably destroy the use of shapes permanently on the show. Yes.
Arrows only. Can't cause any trouble with arrows.
So it's good. Give the feedback. It's awesome to see it happening. We're going to deep dive on the community, but of course, first we've got to go with a little pick of the week.
Sure.
And so Rob, you are the guest. So what would you like to share with people and point them toward?
You're allowed to self-promote.
So
Absolutely.
Okay. So obviously I'd love them to check out Warhammer Live, obviously, but we're going to cover that quite a bit in a minute. So probably the one thing I'd like to, if we're talking about in just reference to Warhammer Age of Sigmar, is pick up your General's Handbook, go into the pitch battle profiles, and pick a faction, and then go on Scroll Builder, which is an amazing website, and then build armies on that, just in those factions, and then like that's my pick of the week. It's my hot pick. Do that, you'll have loads of fun, hours of fun, imagineering. Just then, if you stray near the website, you're in trouble because you're going to order it all.
It's true. Vince knows how much I like to build a list.
Indeed. And by the way, since you mentioned it for Scroll Builder, I'll throw the link down there for Scroll Builder, of course, because it was mentioned. But also, shout out to Tony, who was the TGA Community Champion Award. He beat us out. No, that's okay. And that's okay. As I said originally, we got second place, and I'm honored that as many people voted for us as you did. So thank you to everybody who voted for us. But I told Tom I would have voted for Tony, not me, because the amount of work he has piled in to Scroll Builder and to all that good work is just unbelievable. So I want to thank him personally. I use it all the time. It's awesome. Shout out to him. Go check it out. Give a little support if you can. It's totally sweet. So there you go.
We just show up and talk in front of a computer.
Indeed.
Like there's no actual work.
It's a similar thing to what Rob just said, where like when you meet people who have this real skill and you're like, oh, we just
Yeah, you understand better than anyone. Yeah,
exactly. All right, Tom, what have you got to share there, buddy?
I was invited on Monday night and joined Mitch, MC1 Gamer, friend of the show, on his channel to do a kind of a deep dive on the new Tzeentch Battle Tome. So with our new Tzeentch Battle Tome and tomes in hand, we spent about 2 hours walking through, coming up with some of the top picks, best units, standout items and spells and all that. And so I want to point you to Mitch's channel and go check out his video where we kind of walk through a lot of that. So if you're wanting to know, well, let me say it this way. If you're planning on participating in the competitive scene in the coming months, you are going to need to know what Tzeentch is capable of. And the reality is that it is quite a bit. And so go check out Mitch's show that we did this last week.
That sounds cool.
Very nice. By the way, we kind of blew through it on the news, but obviously the Lord of Change goes on pre-order this Saturday.
Are you getting two? You getting two?
No, I'm not going to get two.
Get two?
I'm going to get. Obviously, I'll have one, and I'll be setting about.
Get four.
I know.
Great plan.
I know, dude. Rob, that battle plan. I stared at it like 6 times, and I was like, I could field a real army. I could field a real army out of this battalion.
Yeah, you can.
It's not that I wouldn't love 4 of those birds. It's that's I would like to not be dead, which is what would happen if I went out and bought 4 of those things. As you know, that's a good way to get killed by your wife. That's all I'm saying. Like I am a married man. Four Lords of Change.
Vince, you're planning on building a Slaanesh Archeon after your Tzeentch Archeon that is already done.
Yeah,
let me point that out. A second Archeon, and you're already brainstorming the third, doing the Skaven Archeon.
Correct.
I've already talked about all of these.
I have them all sketched out. I know what parts I want to use. Yes.
Can I suggest one more Archeon?
Please.
And this is a bit of a hark back to a publication I was in no way involved with early before I worked for Games Workshop. If you were to mount an orc atop Archeon, he would become Orcheon.
I have no greenskins, so he would be a lonely fellow. I've got to make my way through chaos first. And the Horned Rat, as you can see here with all this, truly does have my heart. They were my first my first real army, I suppose, back in '98. But I like the Skaven Archeon will be the way to go. We'll see after that.
Okay.
It's crazy talk. That's all I'm saying. That said, I'm already planning the Nurgle Archeon, so that's going to happen.
There you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. Look, just get them all together. So, my pick of the week.
I'll do Archeon.
There you go. Exactly. We've got a party now. There we go. All right, we've got a plan.
Yeah.
My pick of the week, I want to address or point everybody toward episode 11 of Scrubby and Wells podcast. Friend of the show, Tyler Emerson. Tyler's a great dude, a master of the community and community building. He has been absolutely a force for positivity throughout the entire community and bringing people together, which is awesome. His podcast is great. I heard somebody refer to it as the Thinking Man's Warhammer for Age of Sigmar podcast, which I think is probably true. Tyler's a very thoughtful, introspective guy. And the most recent episode was triggered by a post that went up on TGA. I will link to that episode and to that post. It talks about the nature of the competitive scene and how adjustments should be made. And I think it is full of wisdom. That is what I will say.
It's very good.
Yes. As somebody who had similar experiences and participated in competitive Magic for many years, I can only say that I 100% and then designed games now for 10 years. I can say that combining those two experiences, I agree completely with everything said in this article. So check out the podcast, check out the article. What's that?
He's a super smart chap. I really like everything he's had to say always.
No, absolutely, because he is. He doesn't just shoot off at the mouth. I mean, it's as silly as that sounds. There's a lot of. I think we all know that sometimes it can be easy to just start running around like talking crazy, but that's not Tyler. He's always very thoughtful, and he always has really insightful things to share. So, shout out, check it out, sub up to that podcast if you're not already. You're going to enjoy it. There you go. Okay. So now let's turn to some hobby time. Now, Rob, you mentioned that your painting time is some of your most precious time. I know, given your busy schedule, you're probably not getting a lot of it anymore. What are you working on right now? What's on your desk?
Well, Death Lord's army, and then a Mechanicum army, and then for Heresy, I'm currently doing through a solo auxiliary army. So those three I'm picking up and putting down.
In your Zinch army, right?
Nope.
I don't know. Eddie seems to think you have a Zinch army.
No, Zinch. Eddie's the Zinch guy. So I decided, although I may have absolutely tricked him into an Eshin army, which I think is brilliant. And I'd love to see Ed. And if you've seen Eddie use his GC Lecolt army, he's like, it would play in exactly the same way. So I think he'd love it. And I was DJing last night at 12 o'clock at night, and because I've done that for many years, and I got an email from Eddie at like 12 o'clock at night, just going, "What do you think of this list?" And I was like, "Oh yes, this is exciting. Let me read through it." When someone's written the list, they're already halfway there. So
I saw him share the list on Twitter because it started so innocently with like, do you think, like, this is Eddie's original Twitter post, which was like, do you think an all Eshin army could work? ? Like winky face or whatever. And then boom, out comes a list of like the Vermin Lord Deceiver and Deathmaster Snitch and multiple assassins, and then just like gutter runners and night runners just
for days.
For days.
That's my hot pick. It was a pure Eshin army. Yeah.
So I want to hear more about your Squig army.
Oh yes, that'd be fun if I did do the Squig army. I would massively enjoy that because you can do double, can't you? Double.
Yeah.
And I love that potential, that swingy nature of a game. I've got Arcan in my Death Lord's army, and I think on average, probably with his Curseiers, I'll do 3 mortal wounds roughly.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, one time I've rolled it out, I got up to 22. That's exciting. And my friend Rob told me today that the rule of 1 doesn't apply to the Curseier spell. So if I get down to a 2+, infinite mortal wounds.
Yep. Because the rule 1 doesn't apply to like re-triggering spell effects. It's only attacks.
So when someone says to me, "Oh, like how'd your game go?" They're like, "Great. I just used my Storm Fiends, did 40 mortal wounds." I'm like, "Great. Did you do infinite?" Because I did. I'm still doing them. It's dead and it's still happening until the game ends. So that's good.
Very nice. All right, Tom. What about you, bud? What are you working on? You got some tourney prep coming up.
I
here, right?
do. I've been working vociferously on Holy Havoc prep, and
Great.
so so I finally got the Plague Bearers done, and they are ready. And then I hadn't done full pictures of the Chaos Furies yet, so they have been completed and are ready to go, which I'm super stoked about. And then I am in the middle of working on my Marauder block, my Nurgle Marauder block. So, yep, that's what I'm working on.
That's great.
How the forces of Khorne have fallen. They've fallen into disease and sickness.
What Khorne? I don't see any.
I don't either.
Every Khorne symbol has been scraped off or dremeled off. There are no Khorne symbols on that entire force.
Good. That would be heresy.
No, they're coming along, is what I would say. I was very dubious as to whether I was going to actually get the force done by game time in 3 weeks or so. The fact that I have an entire hell fort that I need to paint for my board in the next couple weeks, in addition to the last 3 or 4 actual hero models. Well, we'll see if that happens.
Fire up that airbrush, brother.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I spent most of today literally filling in cracks in my hell fort.
Nice.
Just green stuff. It was green stuff for days. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been working on. Made a bunch of progress. I haven't done highlights on those Marauders yet, but yeah, it's going well.
Wow.
I think, Tom, in the time you've done the last 2 units, this is a wonderful turn of events. In the time you've done those last 2 units, what I've been working on is this guy. And I think that you can see where he's at now. This is probably, I think I'm about, at this point, 35 hours into this guy, something like that. He still has his wings separate and his head separate and his cloak
He's
separate.
a one guy.
Into one guy. Well, he's going to be well over 100 hours by the time he's done. I guarantee it.
That would be the only thing I painted in a year, if that was one.
I spend 40 to 60 hours a week painting every week. So there you go. The benefit of not having children and not liking to leave the house or being social. It really works out in my favor.
I don't do any of those things. Where's my time? You talk to me. I probably
don't know what to tell you.
An adult to help me with my time management.
Do you have friends? Because I got rid of those too. Useless. Fire them off the roof. They show up once a week for my normal game, and I love them, and that's it. So we get a game in of AOS, and then it's like, out of here. I got to get back to painting. Let's go. Come on. Back into it. All right. So, but yeah, we'll be deep into it by the time he's all done. So there you go. But he's a competition model. He'll be for Adepticon. So there you go.
I'll see you there. I'll check it out.
Absolutely. He'll be the 3rd. I've got 2 more to go. I'm excited about the next one because the next competition piece I'm doing after him is the Canoness. John Blanche's fantastic, the one based on John Blanche's fantastic art. And shut up, haters. It's the greatest mini ever. I love it. And I have a very special plan for it. So I'm very excited to paint that.
So this is me doing Blanche Jitsu.
There you go.
Yeah.
His new diorama that's there in the museum, by the way, for people who haven't went and seen it yet, is freaking awesome. So go check that out if you can get in there. That's what I would say. So
harrowingly cool.
Yeah, exactly. The dude has an aesthetic that I just love. I know it might be a bit Marmite for some people, but I particularly fancy it. So there you go. All right. So let's jump right into this, right? I mean, enough of this foreplay. Enough. Let's talk about the thing we're here to talk about, which is the Warhammer community. Ooh. And I feel like we've brought the experts. So, Rob,
Hello.
How you doing? You doing good? It's good to have you. All right. So look, here's what I wanted to start out with. Okay.
Sure.
Well, I appreciate that. All right. So how did you get started doing this? Because you have become one of the faces of the Warhammer community for whatever good or ill it may bring to you. You are now one of the faces of Games Workshop, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get into this?
So I come from a background of community development, actually, for over a decade in there, and also in advertising. And similarly, I've made video for about 7 years as part of that kind of system. So media and online media production and output is something I've been involved with a lot. And obviously, I play Warhammer. And so a few conversations occurred at some point where it was quite clear that the video team and the online team needed that element bringing in. And I happened to luckily also roll some sixes at a couple of events and win some tournaments, which was nice. So it kind of like I got asked to come in and look at the General's Handbook and the Sylvaneth Battle Tome before they went on release because they wanted to film me talking about those things. Yeah, so if you ever go back, if you manage to scrub back through all the Facebook videos or find them on YouTube, all of the reactions are genuinely like, they were like, do you want to read through it beforehand? I was like, no, film me reading them. The excitement will be a hobbyist for the first time reading something, and the thrill was absolutely real. I was just like, I was so excited. So that was brilliant. And was genuinely exciting for me. So then that happened, and then I got a phone call. One of the video producers was sick. I got a phone call, said, "You come and do some work." I was like, "Sure." And then it kind of just from there on, it was like, "What can you add to Games Workshop?" And then it went from there, really. So that's that. That's how I got into the job. That helps.
Very nice. I love it. Now, here's the thing. Tom and I have so if you go back, nobody's going to do this, but it doesn't matter. If you go back, so I could just say anything here because nobody's going to go check, but whatever. If you go back to like way at the end of last year, like probably
2015.
Yeah, at the end of 2015.
The last show of 2015, we did a retrospective show because we were 6 months into AOS at that point.
Yep.
And we said, and we talked about what moving forward needs to look like. Is that where you're going, Vince?
That's exactly where I'm going. And I said one of the things that GW needs desperately are some human faces, right? So Duncan was already doing a few videos at that time, but it was still like very light touch at that point. That was the first advent calendar and stuff like that, right? So that was before like the tip of the day and those kinds of things, where he was doing the short painting videos as well. And because there's been, when you look at other companies, they often have, sort of faces associated with them and the other gaming companies, that is to say. And the reality is it humanizes it, because I have always been under the belief that the people in Nottingham in that building are not it's not a faceless evil corporation with people sitting around going, how can we ruin everybody's lives? That's insanity. Like, it's insanity, because like, you can't do this sort of thing if you don't love this sort of thing. Like, that's what it boils down to. So, but the problem is that it's easy to get that impression when there's no human being associated to it. Having a face, having somebody like Rob, having you, humanizes it, and you realize, oh wait, no, these are all people who share the same passion as we do and love this. So for me, this has been a great fulfillment of like the number one thing I hope to see in the next year. Was to watch the, sort of the community grow, yourself, Eddie, Duncan, and others who participate in this, and all the people behind the scenes working like the Facebook and, working with at the community and stuff like that, putting that human touch on this.
As a callback, Rob, you are the faceless Stormcast, or the helmless Stormcast.
The helmless Stormcast.
Yeah, the helmless. Yes. Yeah, like that's what this does. Because before, GW was the Stormcast.
You don't know that it's not just a bunch of ghosts inside there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like we didn't know what it was. It was just this big metal beast. But now we have a face.
Well, it's interesting actually. Like, So to cover that completely, like number one, the company, what's it like? Great question to ask. As Dan, very few people see Dan. What's Games Workshop like as a company? There's this. To give you an example of how nice and lovely everyone is, there's people fall over themselves to hold doors open for each other. It's this, when I went up for my first day, they were like around by Andy, my boss. He was just like, oh, by the way, everyone holds the door open for each other. And I've seen people in a deadlock of niceness and politeness in holding a door open for each other. No, you go first. No, you go first. No, really, I've got places to be, so you go first. Like, and while everyone's really busy, they're overwhelmingly lovely. So that's like the first point of call that I can make, that everyone there is amazing and friendly. And lunchtime is one of my favorite times, actually, because we've got a shared cafeteria and a whole bunch of people from all different departments all kind of like sit down, have their dinner. People walk through, say hello. It's just a wonderful place to work. So that's number one. Then number two, it's a wonderful place with all the people who work there. And as I was saying before, the talent that exists in that building, or those buildings, sorry, is huge. And then that talent comes out obviously in all of the products that everyone eventually gets, but also in all the things that you never really see in coalescing into making a thing happen. And then sometimes you're just never going to get to see some of those people because for whatever reason, maybe they just don't want to appear on the telly, which is absolutely fine. They don't like they're proud of their work and they do what they do, but maybe they don't want to talk about it, which is also okay. So there's a whole bunch of and then for a long time there was a kind of a less engaging environment from the company. There we go. There you go.
That's a fair way to put it. Yes, I accept this description. Sure.
So lots of the people there have definitely learned that engaging is bad. And in my opinion, and in the opinion of lots of people, engaging is good. So drawing those people out, a really good example obviously is Chris Peach, the guy that's been doing the narrative campaign on Warhammer Live, and Duncan obviously. Never before had they got Twitter or were involved in Twitter. Now they're involved in the Twitter community, talking to people, answering questions, saying things. I try to not answer any questions that someone tweeted me the other day, something along the lines of, what paint does this? And I'm like, I'm not a product page. I'm a human being. Like, I won't be answering that question. Like, we have Facebook pages for those sorts. We have customer service departments. So, like, learning how to engage with people in a fair and correct way is difficult. But the company's great. The people who work there are great, and that's a genuine statement for me as someone getting a job, sort of thing. So there you go. I don't really. I've waxed lyrical now. I don't know if I've got a point at the end of it.
No, that's all good. I'll give you perhaps a little a thing here, a prompt that I think would be fun to share if you're willing. Would you like to share the story of Duncan getting on Twitter and how he came to you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I was live at the time when Duncan got Twitter, and I've been talking to Duncan because we share an office. We sit feet from each other. So he works obviously in the TV department. And me and Duncan got on really well. Also, the thing to say about Duncan is his online sort of TV personality in no way is any different to who he is as a person. He fits into that very, actors sometimes who just can't be anything other than themselves as actors. Like they're just playing themselves, really. They're not really actors. They're just that person. That's Duncan. He's just genuinely lovely, genuinely articulate, genuinely like one of the nicest men I've ever met. So he comes across as he is because that's who he is. So that's a really nice thing, actually, learning and meeting someone for the first time and going, oh, you're just that good. and a little daunting as well. I'm like, why aren't I that good as a person? That's a shame. But yeah, when he got Twitter, he went online. I was on live at the time on Warhammer Live, and I was oh, Duncan's on Twitter, that's great. So I retweeted him, which was great. And then he apparently was at home cooking spaghetti with garlic bread on in the oven, which is just a really wholesome image, as he is a wholesome person. And then he kind of looked at his phone. He kind of looked at wholesome's the best word to describe him. He looked at his phone and just kind of nonchalantly was like, oh, a notification. Doesn't get many of those on his phone. It's not really his thing. And then next he was like, oh, another. Oh. And apparently it was late at night, kind of 12, 1 o'clock. And she was like, why won't it stop? Please stop. And then the next day, kind of like, almost like Oliver, delivered me the phone and was like, make it stop. Stop this. So I just turned off all of his notifications. Turned off all of his notifications for him one at a time. And I was like, there you go. I was like, would you like people to message you? He was like, no. I was like, okay, we'll turn that feature off. No problem. So
That's awesome. I could just picture like all night him just sitting there awake, just like wide-eyed, staring at the phone, and it's just like, meh,
Bing, bing, bing.
meh.
I love the idea of him waking up in the morning and saying, 1,400 people have followed you on Twitter. There's like a notification. And I'm just like anyone else would screen cap that, and he's just like, make it go, stop it.
Yeah, just 1K plus next to the notification.
Yeah, he's Absolutely. A great. And Roger's video guy doesn't get enough love, and also Laura, who did you see the Buildtown video that went up the 140,001?
Yes,
he works in our video team. Everyone, I could talk about the great people who work for days for Games Workshop. Dan works, but I don't know if he does anything useful. But Laura makes those absolutely brilliant kind of like trailer videos for some of our new releases, which are really evocative, and I think are stunning and really kind of get me jazzed up about the hobby, to be honest. So,
is she the one that was doing painting last year? That did some painting videos?
Yeah, no, for a small amount, no, that was Emma. For a small amount of time, Laura was Emma's video producer doing that. But then she kind of kept doing these kind of more narrative and constructive videos, and nice. She does them, I think, really well. So, just a point to make. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there we go. So that's the story about Duncan.
Fantastic. All right, so let's jump right on. So, I know that ultimately you're spearheading some of these efforts, right?
Sure.
And so what do you really like? You've got a role. What do you define it as? What do you think your role is? Not just like, I don't really care about what it says in your business card. Like, what's your goal? What do you see yourself as trying to do?
Oh, moving on. No. If I answer that to its completion, I'll be in all sorts of trouble. So I like playing Warhammer. Some of the greatest friends I've made, in fact, are people who play Warhammer. Genuinely, I think as a hobby, I used to play a lot of computer games. I've always loved computer games since I was very, very small. And unique, and we are actually, same as you guys, we're all uniquely placed in our generation in being at the forefront of gaming. Computer games becoming a thing from very early. Like, obviously the 70s and 80s were a thing, but when you go back to the kind of Atari era and moving forward, we're at that forefront of. I remember like playing on like very early computers and computer games and PlayStation 1 sort of, and it starting that mass development. So I've gone there. So I've always been deeply involved. Up to now, where I play almost no computer games at all, and I only play Warhammer. And I find that really, really interesting that I've moved on, and it's because quintessentially I think Warhammer has something that computer games can never do, no matter how well they're done. And obviously with stuff like League of Legends, for instance, they're done so well. It's a sport, you can play it, people follow it, like you've got teams, it's awesome. And I think that's a really good thing to look at as a game. And actually their game development and some of the stuff that they do, I think it's probably leading gaming in the whole world. If it's a new field, I think they're at the forefront of it, in my opinion. But I only play Warhammer, and I like that Warhammer is good, and I like playing Warhammer, and I like the people who play Warhammer. And every person I meet playing Warhammer almost all the time is someone who I'm like, I'd like to be your friend. So making that be something more people do, and finding more people to play Warhammer is my intent. I think. And I like all the other elements of the hobby as well. When I first started playing Warhammer, painting was I always say this word wrong, an anathema to me. And can I get a wording from a judge?
Sure.
Anathema. Anathema.
Let's go for anathema. Yeah, that's close enough.
Sure. So anathema, yeah. Because I was like, this takes so long, like for such little reward, because I wanted to play. Over time, I've got into modeling. Mm-hmm. Before I was like, I can't stick these pieces together, and then now I'm like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut it off that, and I'm going to stick it on that, and I love that, and that's cool. And also, I knew nothing about the background. And now I know loads about the background, and I love loads of parts of it. And that sometimes informs my purchasing choices, because I'm like, I want to build that army because of the story. So it's interesting, actually, that gaming pushed me to those other pillars of the hobby. But gaming still is my core focus for who I am as a person. And that's because, and I respect all those other parts of the hobby, especially when they've done so well with gaming as well. So I would say that my main focus is getting more people playing Warhammer.
I like it. That's straight and simple.
In the right way as well. In the right way as well.
Gotcha. All right. Well, since you said that, what's the right way?
Have fun.
There you go. I figured that was going to be your answer, but I wanted to push you to hear what it was, because that's something.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say that's something we've pushed consistently. That like the only wrong way to play the game is the way where you're not having fun, where you turn it into a job, where you turn it into an argument, where you turn it into something it's not supposed to be. It has the word game in the name of the company, and it is that thing. Hence, I think fun is supposed to be part of this,
hobby.
Yeah, part of what's going on here.
It doesn't mean you can't be competitive. Doesn't mean, and actually, Games Workshop's non-involvement in the development of the conversation about gaming has led to some like aberrative thoughts being commonplace, and I think that's one of those things I'd like to try and address over time as well. And also, you mentioned Scrubby and Wells as a podcast. Tyler's got some great like observations in communication, actually, about armies and gaming. And I think that's really important as well, because if we're to take especially the competitive players, if you take yourself as serious as a competitive player, you need to have genuinely intelligent conversations about gaming and game design. You can't just point at an army and say, "Oh, that's better than my army. Oh, you're a jerk." That doesn't work. Like that's not intelligent. That isn't helping any of us. It isn't helping the community. So hopefully, I bring some of that. But I feel Eddie's that guy. I'm just kind of the guy that makes puns.
Lots of fun.
Look, so since you said you're just the guy who makes puns, which I don't think that's true at all, like you may have a slight, good history of competitive play that you certainly earned, plus some great stuff, and that's going to lead into my next question. But we do have a question from the Peanut Gallery that I saw in the comments that I feel behooved to ask. That is very important.
Sure.
And so we need to get this out there. There was a clarification demanded that has been asked on this show before. Since we generally shoot from this area up, the question is, are we wearing pants? And the answer is yes, I am wearing pants. But there's a lot of question as to whether or not you're all wearing pants. Does Duncan wear pants when he paints for the videos? That kind of thing.
Real question. It's there in the comments.
So, just FYI, in England, pants is underwear.
Oh, okay. So slacks. How about that?
No way. Never.
These.
I have to say that sheds a whole new light on Mickey's comments about wearing pants.
Absolutely, yeah. If this has been Mickey, if this has been all about going commando the whole time, that's a much different conversation.
So trousers, yes, definitely. Obviously, because it's my workplace, so I have to actually. Although no one does suits and ties, it's not that kind of workplace. But a general kind of like smart casual is enforced. But no one knows I'm not wearing underwear, which is great.
There you go. All right. So, well, I've learned something today. Mickey and Andrew, I feel you let me down on not informing me of how that pants had a different meaning. I had no idea. This is genuine new information to me. Things are being revealed.
We feel fooled. We've been tricked.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. But it's good to know. I think what we understand now is that it is either confirmed or not confirmed that Duncan isn't wearing pants, that he could be painting commando. It remains a mystery.
Yeah, no one knows.
No one knows. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can probably ask him on Twitter. That'll be the weirdest question he gets today, I'm sure.
Assuming he reads it.
Right. All right. I could just see that notification. Bing. Let me look here. What is this? Oh, do you wear pants while you're painting? What? All right.
Sure. I'll make it easy. I'll ask him.
There you go. All right. Yes. There it is. All right. So, and so let me now return back to our regularly scheduled questions,
So,
which was you've made some good videos and you've made some good content, and I think you've done a lot of great stuff so far, even in, like, let's be honest, a relatively short time. Like, I watched that Sylvaneth video of your reaction. That wasn't that long ago, right? I mean, realistically, in the world.
I think I've been there for about 5 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's your favorite thing you've gotten to do so far, both, you know, outward content wise that we would have seen? What's your favorite thing you've got to do so far, maybe behind the scenes that we didn't see?
Good question. I think probably I think it's got to have been Warhammer Live, to be honest. I think, and I have a justification for that from just this weekend, actually. Like, I'm quite, like I say, I've been involved with like social media and like its development and envelopment of culture for about a decade. So I understand its power, and that's from the very early days, really, of its use. It's like very like not overused, but very much commonplace now. But I kind of saw its rise. And kind of like tried to join in on that rise. But either way, what was really nice, it's just been, I was like, Warhammer Live is really gonna help lots of different things that we need to do as a company, but also more importantly, and I mean this, it's going to help the community of people out there who like Games Workshop and Warhammer. So. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. Yeah. So, but this weekend we had a bunch of lads actually who appeared. One of whom appeared on the show, competing. They call themselves the Bruces, and there's some. I don't know where they're from. There's some outfit from some part of England, but they were just a group of kind of 10 to 12 lads who they all play Warhammer together, and they checked out the very first live streaming thing we did, which was the Warlords event. Quite a while ago now, which was a huge labour of love for me to actually achieve and put together as a proof of concept for the fact that people would like this. And I haven't had any real validation apart from the fact that lots of people in the company said, we like that, that's cool, let's keep doing that. Lots of people obviously writing comments and stuff, and we've obviously had lots of people viewing things that we've done, and that's been a really good confirmation. But this weekend we had a group of guys who were like, we watched the very first event, we started playing more Warhammer together, and since then we've watched all the Warhammer Live stuff, we've subscribed, we've joined in, and then as soon as tickets came for Heat 1, we bought tickets, and like 10 or so of them came, competed, and quite a few of them came, one of them came second, and that's like, and that's huge, like that's cool. Like I don't really care about any other part of anything that I've done. I love the fact that there's a group of lads who've been having fun playing Warhammer together, and they're quite boisterous, they were quite loud kind of lads, and they were just like mocking each other and laughing about stuff, and I was like, this is wicked. Like there's just a group of people playing Warhammer and having fun and then engaging that way with other people. That's the proudest moment so far, definitely.
Very nice. I like that.
That's Warhammer TV doing its job. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
like, yeah.
Increasing the community. I mean, that is legit. That is exactly building the community, right? Like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then they met a whole bunch of people, and actually there were quite a lot of high-end competitive people from quite a few podcasts there. And I don't think any of them did as well as quite like if you took that group of kind of like well-known competitive wargamers and the group of these lads who just from some, I don't know, this little gaming group amongst themselves, I think they all placed higher roughly than everyone else. I was like, good, that's brilliant, fresh blood, everyone having fun. Let's do more. Yeah, so good answer.
I love that answer. That's fantastic. Because, you know, one of the things I've talked about in some of my videos is churn. Churn is always a thing, right? No matter how great the company is, no matter how good the products you are, you're always going to lose some people every year, right? Like people are going to fall out of the hobby just because life happens, right? People have life changes. They move, they get married, they have kids. Life occurs, and sometimes hobbies kind of fall by the wayside. One thing about Warhammer is that it usually brings you back in, right? Like you keep trying to get out, but it just brings you back in. Like we all know people or may be people who are like, well, I got out of it for insert number of years here, right? Well, my kid was born or after I got married or whatever, but now I'm back, right? I'm back. By the way, I see that story a lot with Age of Sigmar. Like that, how many posts I see that begin with, I was out of it, then Age of Sigmar happened now, or then the General's Handbook happened or whatever. Now I'm back, right? Whatever. But seeing that happen, knowing that the churn is going to be there, building the new community, getting fresh blood and having new people join is so critical, right? Not just because it gives us more people to play against, which is of course a good thing, but also because it is a sort of like virtuous circle, right? The more people who are playing it, who are having a good time, the more people they tell, the more people join, the more on and on, right? So yeah, totally with that.
And also like put this in the correct context without trying to I don't want this to sound wrong, so I'm going to try and be a bit careful with what I say. Both of you in your spare time right now and people watching, I don't know like if you have numbers or people who listen, I don't know how it works, but you all love Warhammer. Like it's something you love. Like there are films you love and there's music you love. And there's been movies about like great passions in any field, poetry, music, film, like, you know, like we've used art to review people loving art like for many years. And you guys love Warhammer. And that's true for many people, including myself. And being passionate about something wonderful it is great. But what we've never done really is we've never tried to expand that out to everyone and say, look how great and amazing this thing is. I say this a lot. A lot of people, you know, you kind of go, what are you doing at the weekend? And no one just says proudly, I'm playing Warhammer, this is ace. You know, like some people hide their hobby, and I don't want that. That's not what I'd like to happen. And there's such a deep level of love for what it is that we all do, whether it be painting the Warhammer exclusively or playing the Warhammer exclusively, that there needs to be more championing occurring. There needs to be more of people doing whichever part of the hobby you're involved with, not all of it. There needs to be more of that. And I don't think we've done it enough, and I don't think we've done it loud enough, and I don't think we've tried to like go and get swaths of people into the hobby and say, look how great this is. We haven't got them like done demo games inside every bookstore in the world, or, you know, there just isn't enough work been done yet to bring all of those people into something that we all deeply and passionately love, and we should try at every opportunity. And I think that's just because I love it as much as everyone else loves it. You take people to gigs for bands that you love, or show them movies that you love. How many times have you turned around to one of your friends and gone, "What, you haven't seen that movie? That movie's amazing. You must see it." And that applies to this game, truth be told. And I think sometimes we get pushed back too easily. Do you want to come play some Warhammer? Oh no, I don't think it's for me. You know, why do we get pushed back so easy? Just drag them along and make them roll some dice. That's brilliant. So there you go. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. And if there's ever a time, now is the time, because this is the age where the nerds have finally conquered the world, right? Every other part of nerd culture, like comic books, aren't. You don't have to hide that under a bushel anymore, as it were, right? Like it's cool to like comics, it's cool to like video games, it's cool to like all of these things, anime, and all this stuff that when I was young and growing up, you know, I had to like go to a weird corner store run by the guy from The Simpsons, right? To engage with my hobby.
So
and
true.
Like, because that really is the most dead on part of The Simpsons, but that's not the case anymore, right? Like now all of that is perfectly fine. And I think you're absolutely right. It is something about the physical nature of it, the fact that we have these things that people perceive as perhaps toys or something like that, which, I mean, or whatever, the fact that we do spend hours painting them, it makes us almost often hesitant to discuss it, right? Like, what are you doing? Well, I'm painting up some Warhammer minis. Oh, you know, and like, you should be proud of that. You're investing blood, sweat, tears, passion into something artistic, creative, and fun.
Yeah.
What in the world would you be feeling not good about that for? Right?
Yeah. What's the difference between I've played my guitar for 8 hours to practice, or I've spent 8 hours producing? It's also like you paint a miniature, awesome. You paint a painting that's apparently there's more worth, and there isn't. Like it's just an observational value, and sometimes we don't have that as hobbyists. We don't have our own self-belief. So we need to have more of that, and more of like, how awesome is this? We need to put like pictures of our stuff on Facebook and other places, and just go, this is cool. This is what I do, in my opinion, anyway. And it's definitely what I do. As an anecdote for that, for quite a while. My first date, living in Nottingham, my very first date that you know how everyone's got like a first date place. So mine was the exhibition centre at Warhammer World, as an example.
Well,
As
you
an
got
added-
everything you need right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And it's a really great place to test the waters. Like, is this going to work or not?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you
Figure all
walk
that
in
out.
and they're like, nope, you're like, well, this isn't going to work. See you later. I'm going to go ahead and roll some dice.
Grab a drink of Bugman's and roll some dice.
Yeah. You could salvage the night really easy if it goes bad.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, sort of what you're doing, what you want to do in the future. So one of the questions I wanted to ask was, because I've got to imagine you get lots of requests now at this point, either through Twitter or through the comments you see. What is the most common request that you've got for like additional things to include or videos to make or something like that, or ways to change the content you're producing? What is the thing? What do you think the most common one is? Or maybe what's the one you like the most or something like that?
Well, the one I hate the most is Dice Cam. And I can wax lyrical about that, but effectively, like, we haven't just rushed into like putting it on the telly, and some of the conversation is to how we impart the information that we're expressing, because of the nature of the game. If you like, next time you play a game of Warhammer, and then try to vocalize everything you're thinking and talking all at the same time, and then vocalize the results of dice. And then, because unless we mic up the people at the table, you're unable to understand what the dice are being rolled for, really.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to do that.
No, we don't want to do that, because we want commentary. We want what could happen, as opposed to what is happening. Otherwise, then you just get Rimmer's dice story, don't you? Where, have you ever watched Red Dwarf, where he's playing Risk and he's just rolling dice and he goes, "Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen that?" Okay. If you get the opportunity, just Google Rimmer's Risk story, and it's awful. But you don't want to just follow along with what dice are occurring. You want what can happen, and what could happen. And actually, because of the nature of the game, the what can happen and what could happen sometimes are more interesting than what does happen. And that's really where the drama occurs, I think, and where we're able to produce drama to make it something exciting and interesting to watch. But we do sometimes show the dice cam when we think it's something important and try to stop play. So that's one of the things we're getting involved with, and we're trying to improve that process. But by definition, the process itself, it can't really get much better.
I'm surprised that you guys haven't created some type of like digital something. Like, you have your scoreboard and like populate the numbers, quote, win the dice, so you don't have to zoom in on the dice themselves, because that is annoying as piss. But to have the reveal and comment on it in plain sight.
It's how much happens so quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's actually really interesting. The sheer quantity of data that occurs during a game of Warhammer is vast. And actually relaying that information quickly would take a huge team that was working really, really quickly and efficiently. For what in my opinion, I don't know how much more that brings to the experience. So, but we're 5 weeks in. Let's learn together. There's nothing off the table. We're just going to work through it and find out. And apart from that, a lot of questions for specialist games and other game systems that we produce. Loads of stuff, really. There's so much we'd like to do. It's just time.
You say that literally one of the questions in the stream of the show was just a minute ago was, ask them about when Mordheim and Necromunda are coming.
I genuinely don't know. I sometimes forget what's on pre-order this week, so I don't have no idea.
Here's how I think about things like the dice rolling, because you're right. You think about how fast you're generating data. Here's a giant grip of dice. I roll them. I pick out my hits. Here's a giant grip of dice still. I roll them. I pick out my wounds. Somebody else rolls a big grip of dice. That's their saves, right? And then maybe they roll some other things for like some kind of secondary, damage prevention shield or whatever, right? Wound prevention shield, whatever. That's like 4 sets of dice resolved for one, sequence of attacks. And that's pretty fast and efficient by the standards of a war game, right? And so I think of it like this. I don't know how well this is going to translate, but for people outside of for people who don't have baseball as a big sport. But so when you go to a baseball game in the US, like every single stat and thing is tracked, right? Like in grotesque detail, like the exact speed of the pitch, where it hit, every, every RBI, everything that happens on the field is a number that can be tracked, right? And you do, when you go, you see those old guys who are sitting there behind home plate, who have the piece of paper, who are like sketching and filling out their boxes of every single number that has happened, right? They're tracking it all. Like they're creating their data set, right, of everything about the game, because they're like playing Moneyball or whatever, right? But if you look around the crowd and you take, there's X thousand people at this ball game, 99% of them don't look at any of those numbers, right? They're looking at the field. They're looking at what's happening. They're listening to the announcer who's talking about like who's coming up to bat and what they need to do. Well, he needs to get on base so that way he can set it up because right, this is a really strong cleanup hitter, whatever the case. So the point being is that the narrative is what most people actually find interesting, even in a game like baseball, which certainly isn't a story game. These are
the drama.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yes. It's the drama that's important. Like if you were sitting there recounting every dice roll and talking about all this stuff, we would never hear about our named Griffhound, right?
Yep.
We would never have these stories happen because those things are funny. Those kinds of stories take time to build up, to have those conversations. And that's what makes it ultimately compelling watching, right? Not, oh my God, he rolled a slightly above average number of 4s.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, a lot of the design process of showing a game, because interestingly, one of the things I was tasked with when starting working Games Workshop was how do we show games through the format of video. And the first thing I did immediately was I made a really absolutely kick-ass battle report. Yeah, I had imagine a professional videographer with the equipment and time to make one thing. Yeah, and as much work and effort as he wanted to put into a thing. Brilliant. I watched it and I thought, this is rubbish. Not because of what it was, because this time I spent putting into it, I imparted so little information in reality. Because of the sheer, and we all know as war gamers, the sheer volume of information that can happen or that might happen based on tactical decisions and or dice rolls swing the game in a huge factor. And showing that over 6 turns, as you know, if you play one game with one army once a week for a year, there's still not that much information as a data pool to start to translate information out to people. So I broke it down and started to define it into elements of what people needed to know and what we wanted customers to be able to take away, and how we could help people. And that's where live came from in one format. So that covers gaming and how gaming happens. And if you think about the sheer volume of information me and Eddie are able to give you over the course of a gaming weekend, it's huge. And some of it might not be the same as a polished battle report it takes me 2 weeks to make, but in one weekend you get more information than I could make in a year doing a polished battle report.
Yeah.
And information is key, really. I think the more everyone knows, the better. The more we raise the bar on what everyone's doing. So that's the whole dice. And me and Dan still row about the dice game constantly. And people in the stream ask for it all the time, and it really is kind of what are we doing and how are we defining it. So it's still a learning process, and it's still things that we'd like to get in the future, but I don't know who it appeals to. And that's a really interesting conversation as well, isn't it? Really. I think following along dice rolls would be boring.
Yes, I think it's only because it's only the outside few that are interesting, right? Yeah. What I mean is that the majority of dice rolls in the game aren't memorable. Here you go. Here's the challenge to people out there watching. Recount for me, okay, the last game of Warhammer you played, the last game of Age of Sigmar you played. Recount for me your dice rolls. Go ahead. Tell me the dice rolls you made. You don't have to tell me the results. Just tell me the actual dice rolls you made. That's going to probably be hard, let alone the results. The reason you don't remember them is because for the most part, a lot of them are just resolved as part of the course of the game. They weren't the interesting thing. the thing that was going on. You were trying to get to the objective. You were smashing this other unit. You picked this off combat that put your enemy on the back foot. You know, maybe a priority roll you won. There's an interesting dice roll or something like that, because
it was possible, yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's not that there are none. It's just that a lot of them tend to be rote, right?
Yep.
Now, when you had like, okay, I came in, I brought my 6 Storm Fiends tunneled up, right, and opened up with their rattling cannons, and I've got 15d6 shots, and I got 21 attacks, right? Like, okay, whoa, hey, oh, that's like the worst roll in history. You know, like maybe that's actually crossing over into an interesting level. Like what should have been a devastating attack ends up just being like, yeah, you know, like, okay. So it's not that those don't happen. It's just those aren't, and you'll comment on those. Like when it occurs, you're going to see it. It's going to be that thing that Ben tweeted out, like of the final roll of the tournament he ran like over a weekend, a couple weekends back, where like the game was decided because somebody needed to land a 3-inch charge or something and blew it at the end and rolled snake eyes, and everybody was just like, like everybody went nuts, right? Because that was a critical dice roll that was like actually really interesting to the outcome. But there was 40 dice rolls before that. They were just like, if they're not remembered, who cares?
Hundreds of dice rolls before that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All
right.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, so here's my final question for you, because I know we've already gone over, but there's the audience demands it, Rob. They demand it.
Fine. I'm happy to come back on as well in the future, and we'll do another one.
Fantastic. We will definitely take you up on it. But here's my question, and maybe we'll see where this goes. Okay, for the future when you come back on.
Yeah.
What do you want to do in the future? And you can be both realistic with this or completely unrealistic. You can structure this like, imagine time and budget aren't a concern, or you can say, hey, these are some realistic things I'd like to try. You can answer it however you feel most comfortable.
Okay.
If you want to be safe, go completely unrealistic.
Right, exactly. Being complete pipe dream is the safe answer, because you can couch it with like, this would never happen, but or you can give it.
All right. I've got one.
Right.
One. Yeah, happily so. I'd like to be sat next to you two. Yeah, in an auditorium of an undefined size, but an auditorium of a size would be great. And I would like to have been watching. So here's my pie in the sky. I would like to have been following along with the tournament of Warhammer, with some exceptionally painted armies to some degree, and watching a game of Warhammer displayed in an excellent form in some way, and just being gripped by a world final. I don't like, it could be a local final. In order for it to be in an auditorium, something massive, some sort of world-defining tournament, and just sat gripped with my friends, like, a drink in hand, some popcorn, and we're sat there, and he's like, he's going to roll 3, and he's not going to roll 3. I don't know. Do you think he should move that unit over there? You should move that unit over there. I don't know. And just being gripped for 2 hours, and then after the game, whatever the going with my friends and getting some dinner and sitting down and just talking about it for hours. What could have happened? What might have happened? How all of the events, like the past 6 months of tournaments and world events and releases and everything, led up to that moment. And that would be a thrilling day, I think, for everyone in the hobby. To have seen something like that would be cool. I don't know how untenable it is. I don't know how achievable it is. I definitely have no plans to achieve that as is. But I think that would be brilliant. Like a hall full of people packed listening to a game of Warhammer, especially. And what I love most about the General's Handbook is especially 2 narrative armies that are powerful because they're narrative, smashing against each other. That would be kind of on point for me.
Yeah, it surprises me that related to that, like somewhat related, but more grounded in what we're currently doing. It surprises me that in our GW stores, when we walk in, that they're not just streaming Warhammer TV like games in the store on like a big screen TV.
Well, that's not what they're designed to do. And weirdly, it's not really what Warhammer Live is designed to do. The store is, so you go and speak to other hobbyists, get advice, pick purchase, obviously, browse for new things, and get kind of like relevant skills and information about your hobby, as well as pick up things to do that hobby with. That's what stores are for. It's not like it's not a hobby center, is it? They aren't hobby centers. Like, so that's what's really interesting, and that's why we do the community corner actually on Warhammer Live, is encouraging people to develop their own kind of communities where like this exists yet. But I love the idea that there might be a group of lads or like girls, boys, whoever in the hobby, and I think getting more of the other gender into our hobby is something that we should touch on and should happen as well, especially the art side. You guys are sat there painting, I can see you doing it, and like and are artists, but like I outside of the field of Warhammer, I can't think of many artists. Like the gender divide for art is in favour of women than men. So I don't know why we don't see that in our hobby more. So I'd like to see that. But anyway, going back to that, I'd love the idea of a bunch of people just sat around having drinks, watching some TV, watching Warhammer as a game happening, and just being like, maybe that's those lads who watched the who eventually came to the Heat. That would be cool. But yeah, I encourage that to happen more. That would be ace.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea. It smacks of all the best things of like watching you know, like the finals of the Pro Tour or something like that, right? Like all these sorts of things. That's I absolutely totally dig that idea. And I don't think there's any reason, you know, one of the things Tyler talked about is, you know, 10 timesing the hobby, the community, right? He's a fan of that kind of idea. And it's one of those things that I don't think is impossible at all. Right. I think it's just never been, he talks a lot about the why, right? Tyler's a big one for the why. Why do we play? Why does this game matter? That kind of thing. And I think the why it matters, you know, we did a video sometime back, like every week I do a topic of the week and encourage people to talk. And one of the topics some time ago was, you know, wargaming as therapy or something like that. Right. And I think the reality is, how can this not be super important to all of us, right? The amount of hours that we put into it every week, whether you're in any dimension, whether you're painting, playing, thinking about it, list building, discussing it with friends, watching it on the internet. Like you have so many ways to engage. This is an iceberg hobby. Like we tend to think about it in terms of the game itself, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? So much of it's hidden below the surface. And why do we not believe that something that we spend so much of our life doing doesn't have great value, right? When we all use it to engage and find lifelong friends, to have a good time, to celebrate, to act as often therapy. Like I'll tell you right now, like I'll be completely honest, I had a real garbage day today. All right. Like I'm not going to lie. Like my day has been crap up until the moment this show started. And I forgot completely that I had a rough day, right? Because this has been ridiculous fun. And I love doing this and I love sharing, you know, this conversation and with everybody in the audience and watching them comment and all that. So how would we not believe that all of this doesn't have immense value? And why wouldn't we want to share it with everybody? That's
That re-articulates my point from earlier, doesn't it? That the more we can lambast about what it is that we do, the better. And there's so many exciting and interesting ways that there's the potential to do that. And we have an entire hobby full of creatives. What hobby has that? Like sports don't have that. No one else has a hobby full of creatives.
Right. Not to bring this up yet again, but I've talked about it before on the show and we've talked about it multiple times. But for me, like it was in the midst of painting that like I was able to like center myself and like after my wife and I lost a son a couple of years ago. And it was actually like in the midst of the hobbying that like I could sit quietly. And so that was a huge thing for me. And so, yeah, like this has weight and this has value beyond moving toy soldiers around a table.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. And also the lifelong friends thing is how like you hear that story time and time again. Like I made lifelong friends from doing this as a hobby. So and interestingly, like to retouch on your first question, when I got hired to do the job, when I got hired to work for Games Workshop, I already had my own businesses. I already did my own job. I didn't need a job, so I wasn't someone seeking a job. I was someone who chose to do a job. And it's and you have a convert and a bit of a zealot for the hobby, representing the hobby really, because that's who I am. Because like I've got other interests in my life, but many of them, but I think this one is really big and important, and we could all make a huge impact on it. You know, our Tyler 10 times category if we were all to push it and make it happen. Yeah, definitely so. This is a great thing.
Go.
Yeah.
Can't agree more. I think that brings us to the end of our time. Rob, I want to thank you very, very much, sir. It was fantastic.
You guys are great. Thank you very much. Yeah. I think I waxed a bit too lyrical sometimes. Yeah.
Not at all. That's what we're here for, man. We're here to do. Sometimes we're going to go real super highbrow. Sometimes we're going to talk about painting without underwear. It's a spectrum. It's a real spectrum.
Hold on. Do you want me to find out if Warhammer Dan's got anything to say? Hold on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Warhammer Dan, you got any thoughts?
I'm sick of hearing Rob talk.
He's sick of hearing me talk.
Indeed. Rob, for those of you guys that for some reason don't know, Rob was on the internet for 6 hours talking earlier today. And Dan's been listening to him talk all day. We're going on an hour and a half here. And then the next 2 days, he has another 6 hours each day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that is some Iron Man there for Dan. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he hates me. He's got a little voodoo doll. He keeps stabbing things into it. I've got a neck pain. It really hurts.
Awesome. Well, very good, Rob. Absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming on, sir. Yeah, I know you're going to be out at Adepticon. I will see you there. See, Tom, this is why you need to go to Adepticon. So
I'm working on it. We'll see.
good. We'll see you out there. We'll see you there, Tom. For everybody else, obviously, come to Adepticon. Don't be stupid. What's the matter with you? Get out there. Why wouldn't you come? It's silly. You're making the wrong choices with your life. Get to Adepticon. There you go. All right. Tom, thanks as always. Rob, again, absolute pleasure. We'll have you back on in the future. And for all of you out there, thank you very much for watching. Always appreciate it. And we'll see you next Wednesday.